Hello everyone, this is maglinjosvinn flying the Tipsy Raven space program coming back at you. And today we're going to do our best to battle through internet problems and probably more than one failed rocket launch as we try to send the Tipsy Raven space program well into the cosmos. Your faithful pilot is also dealing with a stomach flu, so I apologize if I have to take a break or two. Although I feel a lot better than I did the other day, that is for sure. Apologize for not being able to run the stream yesterday, just was not able. So, you know, that is what it is, I suppose. And the last time we threw a mission up into the air here, we did the Vostok mission. And today we have a job to flight a couple of tourists, quite a few tourists, into suborbital flight. So we're going to make a suborbital platform right quick. Definitely not Mercury program, but we want to go ahead and do what we can to make some money. Just check what other things we have here. Nothing that really jumps out at me. So Mercury's actually going to start with a shout back to our redstone. Redstone is that whole thing that we had going on for crew cabin. I wonder how many it can take. I think it can take 2. We'll find out. Because all we're going to do is make a unit that can take this up. We're not going to do any science with it or anything. We're just going to take a couple people up with us and come back down again. And we got a total of 4. I want to do it one flight. So probably going to get pretty aggressive with parachutes just to make sure this thing can slow down. So pretty sure it'll bring that back safely. It's not that much. Now let's take a... Nope, wrong one. That one. Empty seats. 4 empty seats and 4 tourists. Just like that. Tourist missions are always worth a pile of cash, so I make a point of doing them. We will put a heat shield on this. This thing's kind of big, but it should be alright. Should be alright. We want to return. Oops. We want to decouple. So that's all we're bringing back with us right there. Feeling the need to put a control unit on here. Alright, that's all we're bringing back. We need to do a return stage. Just like that. Decoupler. Just like that. Throw some 800s on here. Throw a skipper on this guy. Swivel. Sorry, swivel. Delta V is not quite good enough. It's getting there, but it's not quite good enough. 2,000-ish. So we're actually going to build our first asparagus stage rocket. 3. These are not so expensive that I have to consider not doing it. put reliance on those. Oops, my mistake. Asparagus. I need 4. And throw some aerodynamics on it. So this particular mission, I'm gonna get like 16 per, and I want to burn like 20, and I got 4 of them in here. So this isn't too bad at all. More than enough delta V to get to where we're going, and we're going to get a little bit more once we do some refinements here. So this is the first time I've done asparagus staged rocket in this particular version. Asparagus staged rockets are a interesting concept. Came out of the whole crowdsourced mentality that internet gaming provides us. They utilize the concept that we should carry the engine and tanks only while there's fuel enough to run all of it. And the second there's not, ditch it. Get rid of it. Why keep it on us? And so the idea here is, that did not put all the struts on that I wanted. And that just broke my rocket. Okay. Oh, come on. Give me just the strut. Thank you. So, what we, again, okay, just the strut. Thank you. What we're doing is we're taking this fuel on these satellite tanks, if you will, and yeah, that's what I thought would happen right there. That goes to that one. Goes from there to there. So as these 4 engines burn around the outside, the fuel in this tank here and the fuel in this tank here will not only be supplying this engine, but will be keeping this tank full. So when we shed these engine units off, when we shed those off, these tanks will be full, and then when we shed those off, the center will still be full. And we achieve that by breaking apart the staging. So we don't dump all 4 tanks at the same time. We only dump the ones that would be empty first. And so we grab those and we put those in the first stage. So we light all the engines, and then we get rid of the first tanks, then we get rid of these second tanks, and then we're left on the center alone, right? And then this is our return stage, giving us a grand total of 5,000, I believe. About 5,000. Ironically, 5,000 is probably enough to go to the moon, but we won't be doing that with this mission. So 25,000, we'll get our money back for these launch stabilizers when we recover them from the platform, and we can't forget to put some aerial solution on this thing. Always with the uncenteredness, I don't know why. Good enough. Okay, and we're just going to name this passenger 1. 5K. We'll actually put 5K TV on it. That way we know just about how much delta V this thing's going to provide us. Save that guy up. Make sure everybody's aboard. Looks like everybody's aboard. And we're just taking this thing suborbital. Pretty short mission to get a pile of cash here. So let's just launch this bad boy and see what happens. I hope so too, Bit. How are you doing today, buddy? Hope you're not sick like I am. Quick staging fix here. We want the releases to go at the same time. Throttle up the whole system. And apparently today I'm summoned Kerman because Jed is now off underneath my picture. Alright, and we're just going to go surface up. Wait, no, we're going to go surface, yep, this guy. And we're going to execute that. We're going to move this over here where I kind of like it more. Stage. Keep the orbit information. Alrighty then. Yeah, we'll probably just go full orbit with these guys just to make it easier to do a controlled re-entry. Assuming this thing has enough. I'm kind of concerned about the weight. These are lighter than this. I should have checked my center of gravity when I had finished this unit, but oops. Nothing for it. Let's just launch and see how happens. Oh, I have had the food poisoning bit. I have had the stomach flu, through a fever and everything, man. My girlfriend came into the bedroom and was like, "How are you doing?" And she touched my forehead and she's like, "Oh my God, you're so warm." And then she touched my back. She's like, "I'm crawling into bed with you. I'm freezing." Meanwhile, I'm sitting there shaking because I feel like I can't put enough blankets on. That was my yesterday. So our first stage is down to 8 seconds. Whenever you're doing asparagus, you want to wait until the first stage has been dead for about a second. Just so you don't accidentally stage those rockets. They'll go off like missiles. Sometimes they'll just crash right into yourself. So there's the first stage away. We're up in the upper atmosphere now, so we're going to pitch over to 45. Apparently we're going to pitch a lot farther than 45. It's alright. These guys are going to get more than they bargained for. I could have probably saved a couple dollars and only done this on 3 rockets, or 3 engines. Now we're just going to burn up until we're about 80 or so. That's my magic number. Actually, I think we'll go for 100. Prep this for 30. Let's get down to 30. And shut down the engines. We'll set this to 0. We'll get the rocket wobble because that engine right there is swiveling around trying to bring us around. Because our only control unit, our only reaction wheels are way up here. So we're getting this dead fish wobble. Less than a fan, but you know, whatever. Good enough for me. And as we bring that engine up, it's actually going to stabilize things quite a bit. Look at that stage. All my people are happy. All the contracts are completed. Do we have maneuver planning yet? Nope, we don't. Do we have this maneuver planning yet? Nope, we don't. Alright. Apoapsis is 1.5 minutes-ish away. And we're going to wait until we're about 1 minute from Apoapsis, and we're going to commit to a nice hard burn. See if we can't circularize this guy. $30 seconds away from that. Hopefully we can bring all 4 of these guys back, because I kind of guessed with my parachute arrangement. It's going to land heat shield down, because all the chutes are at the high side of the rocket, or at the high side of the return unit. But that should be enough. We're going to burn pretty aggressively. You'll notice our apoapsis isn't climbing now because we're close to the apoapsis, while burning directly at the horizon. So we're not going up anymore. We're just going out. You know, perpendicular from our travel. We're going to gain some speed, which is going to cause our apoapsis to go up. The only time our apoapsis wouldn't go up is if we burned right at the apoapsis, or if we were burning negative, like down towards the planet, to circularize. I'm not worried about being too high up in the atmosphere because we have so much delta V left, and we'll definitely be circular. We'll definitely have orbit on this tank alone before we ever get into our return. So we're just going to burn up a bit, and there's orbit there. Okay, so we ended up at 205,000 meters. 205. Is that? Yeah, that's 205. And we're orbital. We'll stay here. This is a recreation of the Vostok mission as of right now, which is fantastic. We should be pretty close to the periapsis. Pretty close indeed. And we're just going to commit to a burn now and maybe even get back in the water. So we're going to turn ourselves retrograde, which is going to take a minute. Actually not that bad because we got rid of those 2 tanks. We're adding a lot of dead weight. So we're actually getting a fair bit of control here. And to prevent taking junk into space and leaving it there, we're going to burn down with this main engine until we're in the atmosphere. And then we're going to ditch it and then use the minor engine for a little bit more control, and then be done with that. So we've come around. We're going to throttle up until our apoapsis, or our periapsis drops inside the atmosphere. Alright, so that's all you get. So our periaps is right there, which means by the time we slow down enough, we'll probably be over here in this sector. That's assuming I do absolutely nothing else. I just allow the aero brake to take place. I'm kind of curious to see how close we get. So I'm actually going to stage off that unit. Yeah, and I'll get rid of that one. Why not? A little on the edge. And we're going to time warp around. Highest point of our orbit just then. Set its surface velocity minus, so our rocket's pointing into the direction of the tail of our rocket, the butt of our rocket is facing into the direction of travel. And we'll warp the time. Because we're inside the atmosphere, we're doing a physics warp. We only get 4x speed for that. You'll notice that we're losing our apoapsis now, because the atmosphere, despite being thin, is enough to provide us with some decelerative force, which is both going to lower our periapsis, but more importantly, bring us down. And hopefully, by the time we hit around 48,000, we're down in the 70s. We're starting to get a little burn effect, and that's why we put the heat shield on here. I'll keep an eye on this. It's got 200 units of ablation on it. Blader is the ceramic-like material that's super porous that can take a lot of heat, and the more as you apply heat to it, it burns away. So a new fresh ablator is presented so that it absorbs all this, all this energy. And we're at 47 of 45, and we're now recapturing right there. Yep, we're firmly within the atmosphere now. And as we come down, well, we might land in the desert. Don't know. We'll find out. It's a very big desert that we're flying over now. Oops, that's a small problem. Where's the top ones? I'll fix my staging problem. That's that one. That's that one. Don't want the drogues and the landing chutes to all go at the same time. That would be catastrophic. Oh, we are going to get the water. Look at that. That'd be a bit of a problem with this rocket design if all those went off at the same time. Take a look at the ablation. Used about a quarter of it. Well, we won't come anywhere near using all of it, just as long as this thing stays stable in the air. This will be a successful tourist mission. A bunch of people paid for the, let's see, basically 2 of the 4 people paid for the cost of the flight, so the other 2 people are profits, which is fantastic. I do think, oh, we're going to land in the other desert. How about that? Throw the drogues. Throw the drogues out, that'll slow us down quite a bit. And then we're already ready to put off the primaries, so we'll put those out too. Slow everything down. Apparently we're having an electricity problem. So turn off that. Maybe that'll... it doesn't really matter. We have the chutes out. Not sure if the chutes actually use electricity, if they're mechanically engaged explosives. Kind of curious to know if I can set off the chutes without electrical charge left. The hell are you? Look at that. Right there. See that? Something going on in this desert. Might be water, I guess. Yeah, it might be a pool. No, that's water. It's way too clear. So the game developers hid a bunch of things on the planets, all the planets that are secrets, things you can find. All pretty neat, and dozens per planet, right? Primary landmarks and stuff like that. So I like to warp until I'm fully slowed down. I'm only traveling 5 meters per second, which is, anything less than 7 is probably okay. Anything less than 6, I wouldn't worry in the slightest. I think landing legs, if I was to put the light landing legs in this, I think they're 10 meters per second. So we could have had a parachute-powered descent with landing legs and, kind of look SpaceX-y, because the rocket would land upright and stuff. So first mission tonight is just going to get the money from these guys. When you lose all your resources of a specific type, it'll stop time warping you. I wish you could tell it when I have 20% left, take the time warp off, but the game's not that intelligent. And we're down. And we're going to topple. Oop, we're safe. And we'll do a recovery. So there you go. A little bit of Vostok action, Mercury 1 style shenanigans with 4 tourists for our trouble. Bumping our available resources up notably, in fact. Oops, I didn't want to go into it. I wanted to enable it. So this is our tracking station, which allows us to see all these heavenly bodies that we may or may not want to try to fly towards. So there's the Sol system. Unlike the real system, Joule overlaps a different orbit. This one is has a more elliptical orbit, and some of them are some really interesting inclines. So a bit of a challenge there. Ah, 150 to get orbits. Oh, we should probably pick up a new mission. Enter orbit. They want an automated ionization scan. That's kind of cool. But they want it so there's no crew on the... No recovery necessary. Pile of money. That one mission would pay for a third. This is science around Kerbin. And we are going to fly a mission. Our next mission is low orbit or high orbit. Either or, it's orbit. So we're going to grab that guy because we're doing that anyways. We're going to check to see what our next science is. Space low. We already did space low. You see that? We went to the archives in the science center. So we have to do space high. Okay. So be pretty easy to do. I don't have any urge to upgrade mission control because I don't have any extra missions that I want right now. I I should probably pick that up before I start landing on the moon. Can't get that yet. Orbit's visible in map. Not to mention patch. So it's patch conics available in the. Hey. So this would not be a bad idea, but I think we'll wait until after our high orbit run to do that. Not going to do that anytime soon, but the next one is the full upgrade. And I wish I had custom action groups. Man, would that make life easier? But I don't. So we're going to take a look at our redstone platform, because I bet you that it's going to do a lot of the work we need it to do. Mostly, its entire science platform is set up. And I don't believe I picked up additional science. No, I definitely didn't. But unlike the last run, instead of having a solid booster, we are instead going to have our asparagus. Build that right here real quick. Actually, I'll show you a neat trick, now that I'm thinking about it. We'll save this as one. I'm going to open our passenger. I'm going to scroll all the way down. Which one is it? This one? Yeah, it's right here. Sub-assemblies. See that? Is it just me or is the music super loud? And we're going to grab this entire staging down here like that. And we're going to boop right there. First generation asparagus. Save that there like that. Put that back on the rocket where it belongs. I didn't make any changes to this, so we're just gonna. Apparently, I didn't make changes to it. And then we're gonna open our Merc. One. And voila! Just like that. We have our asparagus staged rocket, and all of the we have some of the staging. Let's fix that right quick. And oh, these are right because that rocket was okay when I built it. So this thing has 5,000-ish delta V, more than enough to get into an impressive orbit and do the science that's necessary. Pretty high off the ground, so we're gonna. Hello. Drop this down until it's low to the ground. Return. Let's do the last stage. That looks good. Engines and go. 50,000. 50,000 to do this run. Rocket cost. That's because how much science is in this beast. So when we recover all these parts, hopefully we'll get a bunch of that money back. Yeah, we should be alright. Now, if I'm not mistaken, high orbit is 250,000. I think. We'll find out. So Mercury 1's designed, I think, has enough boost or enough power. If it doesn't, if we have a problem with this flight, we'll add some boosters to this. Get ourselves an extra 1,000 or so delta V. Not a lot of reason to sit here and jabber about it, so we're gonna just get out there and see what happens. Thank you, Bit. 250. And I think today's stream is going to be about an hour, although because I missed yesterday, I might take a small break, you know, see to my own needs a little bit. Mostly take a break and lay down so my stomach stops flipping upside down on me, and come back and run another session for another hour since we missed yesterday. So we're all throttled up. Everything looks good. Not a lot of reason to sit and talk about it. So I'm just going to go on and go. Switch. Surface. Wait until we're through the initial atmosphere here and then pitch to about 75. So we can set the computer up. Just want to get to this initial thick atmosphere-ish layer. This is a gravity turn, if you will. So we'll stage those guys out, execute to 75, and prepare to stage to 45. Now granted, they went up on a much more staging error. What staging error? I don't see a staging error. Talk to me a bit. What's wrong with it? I don't see anything wrong. Looks pretty good. All three engines. Yeah, I burn the center. Sometimes I don't burn the center engine, but I wanted the extra thrust away. So it was okay in this scenario. Pitch over to almost the horizon. And then we'll climb to 275-ish. And then we've got a stage coming up here soon, so get rid of those guys. So we're still climbing, but because we're burning towards the horizon, we're also shrinking our apoapsis. Technically speaking, or our periapsis, we don't need to do this, except for the fact if we go up that high, by the time we get back to the surface, we're going to be going really fast and may burn up on re-entry. So by doing it this way, by going circular, we have a better chance of having a more controlled re-entry that is not destructive. Did you understand why I did the engine like I did a bit? I just want to make sure everything's good. So we're almost to our apoapsis. 270 is our target. 250 is our magic number. So we'll cut that down. We'll go to surface 0, just like that. I'm really thinking I might have wanted to bring extra battery power with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kill that battery just to make sure that I don't render myself into a problem. Kill all these notices right quick. So we have a mission to visit the Mun already, which is frankly our next mission, assuming this gets us enough science. And our current mission is to get science from space around Kerbin, which is what we're doing right now. So our missions are lined up pretty good. Our time to apoapsis is 5 minutes. I don't believe I have target. Yeah, I don't have planning yet, so I can't plan the mission out. But I know that I have 56 seconds left in this particular tank, which means I can burn for 30 seconds on either side of the apoapsis and bring our periapsis up into orbit, and then run our sciences. So I'm going to open the doors while this is climbing and start grabbing units that need to be scienced. it might be a little difficult to see the cat. Oh, wait. There's the cat. Oh, I'm glad I double checked. I think that's everything. We're going to set our orbit to pro. Hiya, dinosaur expert! What kind of dinosaurs are you an expert of? What the heck is going on with my rocket? I turned the batteries off. I'll turn those back on then. Are you expert in big dinosaurs or little dinosaurs or all dinosaurs? Any specific era of dinosaurs? I hope there's no dinosaurs in space. I don't think the plan accommodates for dinosaurs in space. Wait a second here before I burn some more of this off, because I'm still 4 minutes from the apoapsis. Yeah, you know, I had a bit of a panic attack with my staging just last run up, so I can appreciate that bit. Not entirely sure why it looked weird to me too, but it did. So, I'm still kind of curious what kind of expert, dinosaur expert. Is that like fossils, or maybe it's just a name? You play Ark? Ark's super fun. Big fan of Ark. Survival Ark, isn't it? Isn't that the full title of it? I might have to stream some of that, because this new computer of mine really kicks butt at Ark. The problem is I like to play it modded. And it's just so boring otherwise. So... we're gonna burn up a little harder here and try to get orbital. Probably more than enough to get there. There we go, that's orbital. And we're at 258, which should be high enough to do a crew report high over Kerbin, so we know this is good. And we'll go ahead and start logging some data. Hopefully we get a bunch of science for our problem or trouble here. We'll close some of these tabs down. And it dawns on me, I don't think the science materials bay was done. So double check that gets handled. Nope, sure didn't. Glad we looked. 37 science. And look at that, you don't get all the science for recovery. So there's a cause to run this mission again just for this last little bump. But with all the different science mods we're running, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. That's too bad. Still cool a stranger stopped in. It's always nice when strangers stop by the stream. Think I missed any science in my thing here? Bit? I feel like I did everything. This is review. I think we got everything. We'll close this bad boy up. Turn this thing retrograde. Yeah, I think we're there. I think we're there. And we're going to go ahead and burn this down to about 50. Close enough. We can stage away. And I'm not too worried about my ablative. So we're going to make sure that the batteries are turned off. Something's eating them up. minus 0.05. I don't know what's eating them up. We'll go surface up. I should have been surface up for pulling the last stage off, but oops. Get rid of that. We'll go orbit, retro, surface minus. Actually, let's turn everything off. You know, there might be a life support feature. I don't. You'll notice that I have some life support here, and I'm actually starting to generate some usages on it. But until we start running missions to the moon, we shouldn't need to bring batteries or life support with us. And when we do, I'll be bringing life support inside of this thing, which won't add to the size of the rocket very much, but may cause us to reorganize this arrangement so that we have the weight advantage of the tail end of the rocket. Electricity is run out. Oh, because the Cosmocat has a small battery in it. Okay, and there's re-entry right there, so we'll go surface minus, and we'll turn the battery back on so the reaction wheel does the thing it's supposed to do. I put the reaction wheel in the middle of this thing, unlike the last rocket where I put it at the top. I've already run this mission once, though, or run this rocket once. I'm not too worried about it. Well, not this. You know, it didn't change my cat is still here. It's supposed to be the Tipsy Raven logo. Maybe it's because the rocket existed before I managed to get my Tipsy Raven. Double check that. Alright, so our apoapsis is already shrinking, which is great news. We'll time warp up as best as we can, so we're not watching paint dry for as long. And hopefully bring this rocket home safely. Ooh, this thing has the air brakes. Ooh, I want to play with the air brakes. They're probably going to shear off or something crazy. They seem to be not having any appreciable effect. Although, frankly, it might be the reaction wheel that's really holding this thing stable. But since we have the air brakes on us, we might as well apply them. Kind of tiny. I don't know if that actually... I don't know if something that big would actually have an appreciable effect on this amount of weight, this big. But, whatever. I might have to mount them higher so that they're... I would think that this reaction wheel system's pretty heavy. One would think. Ironically, we still don't have recapture. We might go around again. Maybe. We got another 1,000 kilometers to go down before... Yeah, another 1,000 kilometers go down before we're at the periapsis, so hopefully we can shrink it down. Replace one of the default flags or in a new file. I added a new file. I know recapture because the apoapsis is below 70,000. Until the apoapsis is below 70,000, it's altogether possible we will ricochet off the atmosphere. Or not ricochet, more like a skipping stone off the atmosphere, because we're traveling so fast we can't sink, right, I guess. We're at 46 and still falling, which is a great sign, because we're almost at a recapture here. In fact, by the time we climb back up to 50, we're back inside the atmosphere. This will actually probably be one of the most graceful re-entries because, yeah, see, we're just now starting to climb back up. Yeah, see, and it's not that we're climbing up, we're shooting through the atmosphere so fast we're now starting to leave the surface a little bit. Now remember, remember this is sea level, not true altitude. Yeah, see, now our apoapsis is below 70. We're actually circular right now in the atmosphere. Oh, we were for a short moment. Which is good. And that's incidentally what eccentricity means right here. When eccentricity is 0, you're you know that your orbit is perfectly circular. And then the other good one to know is inclination, because I believe that Minmus has an inclination of 11 degrees. Now, granted, 11 degrees this way isn't the same as 11 degrees this way, right? They're you know, you wouldn't have intercept, so you gotta put your inclinations at the right same point, so you can get over that. But we'll look at that when we start doing Minmus missions here on the stream. Yeah, I want to figure out why my cat. I mean, not that I care about the cat so much, but I want the channel branding to be good. I don't think we're going to land at the Space Center, but man, it's pretty close. Probably going to land right in the desert, where we did the last time. We'll see. I could have done an EVA. Could have done an EVA in the desert and gotten a little extra science from the trouble. I'm wondering if the air brakes are having such a beneficial impact. What's my deceleration? I can't disembark because my astronaut complex is not upgraded, which is all fine and well, because I don't think that Jed has the same amount of ablative as this rocket does. Pretty sure that would end in tears and bloodshed, and probably a rapid descent to the planet. Well, tears, then rapid descent to the planet, then bloodshed. Yeah, assuming there's any blood not roasted right, exactly. Kind of curious to see if these actually... I don't... Well, it definitely decelerates faster with the brakes out. But I'm watching the orbital speed here. I guess we should watch the surface speed. So, brakes out, rapid, brakes in, slower. Yeah, well, the brakes actually do have a discernible effect at this altitude. Survival of the fittest bit. You must be capable of exiting the aircraft at 2,000 meters per second while in the atmosphere. I don't see how that can end well. Oh, that would be tragic. So this mission will wrap up today's first stream. We'll fire it up again here in a little bit after I get up and stretch a little bit, and we'll actually perform a proper flyby of the moon. Unless you're unablative. The ablative is your skin layer, don't you know? So 2 pretty successful missions. Getting into our first money-only mission. Taking some passengers with us up into space and giving them the benefit of more than suborbital flight. We went fully orbital with those folks as a thank you for paying for the rocket that they went up in. And a high orbit around Kerbin run, which we're landing right now. Pretty successful mission. Using the majority of the Redstone rocket platform. But switched out for our more robust launch platform that we got from our last round of science upgrades. We're going to allow this rocket to come down a little bit before we throw out those chutes, because I don't want to waste a bunch of time watching the rocket fall to the Earth. So we're still at 14,000. We're clearly over the water, so that's a true number this time. Frankly, we could have brought this home on no drugs, because that re-entry was so passive. It was a very soft re-entry. The second I put out those drogues, we're going to lose a bunch of the speed and I don't want to lose speed while we're trying to come down, so we're just gonna not warp too much because I'll smash right into the planet. Wouldn't that be a day? The stream would run an extra 20 minutes so I could run that mission again. There goes the drogues. They're out. We'll warp this down to about 1,000. Yeah, I slowed it right down. I lost 170 meters per second. Slow us right down to 5 and change. Oh, 4 and change. Very stable re-entry. Very, 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 very nice. And we'll time warp as best as we can. Like I was saying earlier on the stream, I'm dealing with a bit of a flu, so I'm going to take a break after we land this one, and then come back and design because we're running life support, design a much more robust rocket that can take us past the moon and bring us back safely and alive. So that'll be the next mission. And potentially look at starting a satellite network. Potentially. I don't like doing a lot of communications-based work. I just prefer to send real Kerbals to wherever I'm going, so I can do EVA science and surface samples and things that you can't do otherwise. So, kind of a personal thing there. We're going to definitely pick up advanced flight control for maneuvers and translations. We have 200 more science to work with. It only makes sense that we look at electricity, which we have basic science, but we need electrics, very specifically solar panels, so that our rocket does not die while it's in flight. So we're going to pick that guy up. Clampotron docking port would actually allow us to recreate the Gemini missions, and if I had the money to do that, because it just costs so much money, we could actually do orbital encounters like they would have done it historically. When they flew the mission to the moon, they dropped a lander on it, flew the lander back up to the main rocket, and then brought the whole thing back, right? And then landed just the command capsule with all the stuff in it from the lander module, which is totally viable and something we could totally recreate. But at this stage, in Kerbal specifically, given the way we're modded, I don't feel like that is such a great solution. Really don't have an urge to pick up anything else specifically. Yeah. Just double checking here, because the only thing I need to fly by the moon is the photovoltaics that I picked up here, and batteries, which are also in that group. And I don't think there's anything in any of these lower groups that I need. The only other enhancement that I'd be interested in is probably up here in this advanced exploration for some additional ladders and remote processing and modules to make it easier to take people up. But and I don't think we're going to need heavy rocketry to run these missions. So I think we'll sit on that 113 we have there, because now we have advanced flight control and we have electrics, which are absolutely necessary. And we need to upgrade this beast to give me patched conics, because doing encounters with the moon without that are academic. Otherwise, they would not go well. All right, that's it for this stream of this first stream of the night. I'm going to take a break. I'll be back in an hour or three, maybe an hour or two, and we'll do our first flyby of the moon. So I want to thank everybody for watching. I know it's just me and Bit right now, but that's okay too. And we'll see you later on today.